Part 3 Secrets of the Roses. Chapter 9 The Secret Chamber. While sleeping on the 8th of March, Miss Butterfield was seized by a terrifying prophetic dream. Beware the Ides of March. Beware the Ides of March. The words echo through a vision of a blood-red moon hanging low in the sky. Beneath it, Roman soldiers marched in endless formation, their footsteps thunderous and unrelenting. Then the sea itself turned dark, thick with blood, rising, swallowing everything in its path. Miss Butterfield tossed and turned as the vision shifted. She saw policemen advancing toward Blackthorne Head, their presence cold and inevitable. She woke with a sharp breath, trembling. She knew exactly what had to be done and that there was very little time. Jolting out of bed, still in her nightgown and bonnet, Miss Butterfield threw on a coat and ran nearly a quarter of a mile to the Burke farm. Out of breath, she pounded on the door, startling Constance and Sarah. Constance rushed to the door. "There is no time," Miss Butterfield said urgently. "The police are coming to arrest you and Sarah. Get the horses. We must ride to Blackthorne now. Hurry!" They ran to the barn where Rex and Blue were already saddled. Within minutes they were riding hard toward the west wing of the estate. "Up to the attic, quickly," Miss Butterfield ordered. "Dim every gas lamp and make no noise. You will be safe there." Frightened, Sarah followed her mother as they hurried up to the attic and woke Billy. Within moments, all of them had gathered there, anxious and alert. Miss Butterfield took the horses to a nearby tenant farms belonging to the Colbys, a family she knew to be loyal. She told them the Burkes had been falsely accused of stealing the blue roses and needed protection. Bound by their obligation to Lord and Lady Blackthorne, they did not hesitate. They agreed at once. As Miss Butterfield had foreseen, policemen from Kent and Dover were already ransacking the Burke farm in search of Mrs. Burke and Sarah. Even if they questioned the staff at Blackthorne Manor, they would learn nothing, and while they might suspect the estate, they could not simply search the Earl's residence without cause. Blackthorne Head stood under his authority, and such intrusion would not be taken lightly. Miss Butterfield was in the kitchen with Emily and Margaret, preparing a quiet lunch for the Burkes and Master James, when a sudden knock sounded at the kitchen door. "Good day, officer. How may I help you?" she asked, her tone light and composed. A constable with a handlebar mustache stepped forward. "Madam, we are investigating a crime. We believe Constance Burke, and possibly her daughter, Sarah, assisted her husband Roger Burke in escaping the jail in Kent. Have you seen her in recent days?" "Mr. Burke escaped?" Miss Butterfield replied, feigning surprise. "When, officer?" She composed herself at once. "Lord and Lady Blackthorne are expected back shortly, but none of us believe Mr. Burke stole the blue roses. He has been the gardener here for years. His family has always been loyal to this estate, with no arrests or suspicious behavior." She paused, then added smoothly, "And yes, I saw Mrs. Burke and her farm, usually just yesterday. She delivered Master James' laundry and some fruit from the orchard herself." The constable interjected, his tone sharply slightened. "We were at the Burke farm. Mrs. Burke and her daughter are not there." "Well, sir," she replied smoothly, "this is highly likely. They are often out making laundry deliveries, or they may have gone to Ashford. I believe Mrs. Burke has a brother there." She gave a small, composed shrug. "She never mentioned anything to me, and I'm a busy woman, and I don't have time for gossip with the neighbors." "Is the butler, Mr. Pritchard, available, Miss Butterfield?" the constable asked. Miss Butterfield paused only briefly before answering, her expression composed. "Mr. Pritchard is currently away on leave, visiting family in the north. He is not expected back for several days." The constable's expression tightened slightly. "Very well. We may return tomorrow for further inquiries." "Well, sir," Miss Butterfield replied calmly, "you are welcome to interview my staff. As you know, Lord and Lady Blackthorne are currently abroad." She offered a polite, measured smile. "Shall I leave any word for them upon their return, or is there anything further I may assist you with?" "Yes," the constable added, his tone more direct now. "We are also looking for William Burke, who disappeared at the time of his father's arrest." "Sir," Miss Butterfield replied evenly, "we have not seen Billy since the time of his father's arrest. Lord Blackthorne was informed, and a thorough search of the Blackthorne Head estates has already been conducted without result." She met the constable's gaze calmly. "If you possess a lawful warrant authorized by Lord Blackthorne, you are of course welcome to conduct further inquiries. Otherwise, I'm afraid I have told you all that I know." A brief pause then, measured and courteous. "Is there a means by which I may contact you should Miss Burke return?" "Thank you, Miss Butterfield," the constable replied, his tone eased slightly. "Yes, please send word to the jailhouse in Kent or Dover if Mrs. Burke returns. We will remain in the district interviewing the surrounding farms." Miss Butterfield added calmly, "Sir, do you think it is possible the Burke family may have retreated to London? In a city of that size, it would be far easier to remain anonymous." She paused slightly. "I do know that Roger Burke and his son William occasionally travel there every few months. It may be worth your investigation in that direction." The constable nodded slightly. "Thank you, Miss Butterfield. That is a lead we are also beginning to pursue." Miss Butterfield added evenly, "Well, it seems that if you have already searched the Burke farm, and there is no sign of them at the surrounding properties, it would be unwise for them to remain in Blackthorne Head if they are indeed wanted." She continued smoothly, "In my estimation, they are either making for a large city, most likely London, or attempting to leave the country via ship from Dover Harbor." The constable perked slightly. "Miss Butterfield, you would make an excellent investigator." Miss Butterfield gave a modest blush. "Oh, sir, I am only a cook. Good day to you." She let out a quiet breath of relief once they were gone. Without wasting a moment, she went up to Jimmy's room to wake him, and within minutes they were together again in the West Wing attic. Jimmy was still groggy, standing in his pajamas when he realized Sarah and Mrs. Burke were there. He blinked in confusion, trying to orient himself. Miss Butterfield stepped forward, her tone calm but firm. She explained that they would need to remain hidden in the West Wing attic for the time being. Legally, the police could not freely search the interior of Blackthorne Head, and even if they attempted to, there were multiple secret passageways unknown even to the Countess and Lord Blackthorne. She lowered her voice slightly. "From this point on, you must all be very careful. The door leading to the West Wing servants' quarters would remain locked. No music was to be played. If any windows were open, the curtains were to remain fully drawn, and at night only the dimmest gas lamp would be used, with all coverings secured. In addition, Mr. Pritchard and Miss Merriweather, Master James' governess, would be returning soon, and Lord and Lady Blackthorne were expected back in approximately 1 week." Jimmy spoke next, still trying to fully gather his thoughts. "But we need a plan to clear Mr. Burke's name and prove it was Vale and Grudge," he said. "And there's something else. We found the secret room with the formula. We have to protect that too." Miss Butterfield interjected gently. "Lovey, I know the formula, and those bumblers would never decipher it. Even with the recipe book they stole, there is no way they could successfully produce the elixir." Billy spoke next, his tone sharpening with urgency. "But if Grudge and Vale think Master James, or Lord and Lady Blackthorne, or any of the servants know the formula, they might try to torture them. Their lives are in danger. They're plotting something right now. We need absolute proof that Vale masterminded the theft of the blue roses, and that Grudge not only assaulted Father and me, but framed him for it." Jimmy added, his voice tightening with resolve. "I think Billy and I need to break into the Vale estate and search for evidence," he said. "I know it's risky, but Billy is a master of locks, and I visited Whitmore Hall 2 years ago, so I still remember the layout. We can do this." Constance looked worried. "This is too dangerous, boys, even if your intentions are good." Billy answered steadily, though his emotion showed through. "Mother, I understand," he said, "but I am not going to let Father go to prison for 5 years, and even if Lord Blackthorne gave him a pardon, there's no guarantee the authorities in Dover or Kent would honor it. The theft is already national news. Our only choice is to prove that Vale orchestrated it." Miss Butterfield hesitated for only a moment before speaking. "As much as I dislike this," she said quietly, "I agree it may be the only possible way." Just then Emily entered with food, reporting that the police were now investigating other farms and had moved away from the main grounds of Blackthorne Manor. Everyone ate a brief, quiet lunch, while the tension held beneath the surface. Once finished, Emily was gently dismissed. The plan was set. The boys would investigate Whitmore Hall the following day. Most likely, Lord Vale would be in Kent, meeting with Grudge at the inn, leaving his estate quiet and his servants likely asleep. It was, at the very least, worth the risk. Jimmy frowned slightly at another thought struck him. I just realized something, he said. If Mother returns home, we lose access through the laundry closet into her suite, into the east wing. It would be too risky. Maybe we should encourage her to stay in London a little longer. She was already planning to attend a friend's wedding. That might buy us more time. We can send word to Father in Inverness, he continued, stating that Roger Burke had escaped and is believed to be heading towards Scotland, and advising him to remain where he is. Father knows Roger did not steal the roses. He looked between them, keeping both father and mother away, protects them from danger, and gives us time to gather the evidence. Miss Butterfield nodded. I agree. It is a sound plan. I can write the message in code, something discreet. She added calmly, I doubt any officials would unlawfully open correspondence addressed to Lord Blackthorne, and even if they did, they would not be able to interpret it. Jim looked intrigued. Code? A cryptogram? Miss Butterfield shook her head. No, actually, a form of word dissociation, she said, lowering her voice. For example, Sebastian flew out of his cage north and hasn't returned. James has been sad and has retired to his room. I cheered him up by baking his favorite dessert. We await your return. She gave a small knowing smile, which really means stay in Inverness. There is danger here. James is safe, but do nothing until further notice. Her expression sharpened slightly. Even the handwriting carries meaning. When I crosses a T firmly or I neglect the dot in an I, subtle variations can alter the interpretation. This kind of system was used during wartime, she continued, and given there have already been attempts on Lord and Lady Blackthorne's discretion is essential. She straightened. I will prepare the letters immediately and have Emily deliver them to the post. Jimmy, Billy, and Miss Butterfield spent the next couple of hours mapping out the estate's hidden routes in detail. They began with the laundry closet entrance that led discreetly into the east wing salon of Lady Blackthorne. From there they reviewed the concealed access to the blue room and the passage beyond it that led toward the secret room. They deliberately avoided the grand staircase and the first floor servant corridors where movement would be most easily detected. Once they were satisfied, they returned quietly to the attic in the west wing. By evening, Margaret had prepared a concealed sleeping area behind heavy dressers in the attic. The space would grow cold at night, being far from the stove heater, so she laid down some thick sheepskin rugs, adding extra blankets, and placed a coal-filled bed warmer nearby. Jimmy and Billy would sleep in the brass bed within the suite that night. Tomorrow, however, Jimmy would need to return to his usual quarters in the east wing and remain out of sight until nightfall. Jimmy and Billy's journey to Whitmore Hall was set for 11 o'clock p.m. with an expected arrival time around midnight. Miss Butterfield would ensure the horses were prepared and waiting in a nearby glen. The boys were instructed to remain in their country girl disguises until they were close to the estate, only changing their appearance once they were certain they were out of sight. They would also need to be prepared. Billy had lockpicks ready, and between them they carried lamp, food, and other essential supplies for the night's investigation. That night, no one slept well. This felt like the most dangerous undertaking yet, and time was pressing heavily upon them. Mrs. Burke traced a protection circle in quiet concentration, while Miss Butterfield consulted her tarot cards. The overall outlook appeared favorable, though two cards remained unclear, one suggesting danger near cliffs, the other warning of the sea. She cautiously cautioned the boys to be careful. Avoid the cliffs, she said softly. Stay within the darker forest areas as much as possible. The weather had warmed slightly, and a full moon was approaching. It could either aid their movement or make their presence far more visible than they would have detected.